For reaction on the story, we are joined by our guest, Brian Leib, for reaction. He's Executive Director of Iranian Americans for Liberty. He's also a Newsmax columnist. Brian, thank you so much for coming on today. Just first of all, we'll just start with your reaction to Mike Carter's reports. Again, the appearance of former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo as well, and then also the dust-up we saw in the neighborhood.
Yeah, Emma, thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure to be on Newsmax. It's a common theme that people have when they see people like Mike Pompeo, who were such strong stewards of peace between our strong ally Israel and their Arab neighbors. People, really just they can't live with the fact that Israel is making peace with their Arab neighbors, and here in America, people, they can't understand the fact that Jewish Americans and Iranian Americans are working together for this peace. Secretary Pompeo should be applauded for the work that he did when he was our Secretary of State, because under his leadership, the Abraham Accords were signed, and that ushered in an entire new era of peace in the Middle East and also here in America as well.
Yeah, we watched live on our Newsmax programming as those peace deals were signed at the White House. Meantime, let's talk about this current administration, right? Iran continues to play a strong hand. Biden administration seems intent on re-entering the 2015 nuclear deal. How are you viewing this move and what could come of it?
Well, I don't think we should be surprised, Emma. President Biden has surrounded himself with all of President Obama's lead negotiators for the Iran deal, the JCPOA. So we shouldn't be surprised that President Biden is pushing so hard to get back into this agreement with the Iranian regime. And, I dare say that maybe it's time that we, start referring to President Biden as President Appeasement, because it seems to be a really common theme with him over and over and over again, whether it's his State Department lifting the foreign terrorist organization designation of the Houthi rebels, to now announcing that he is pulling out all of our troops from Afghanistan on 9/11. All of these moves send cryptic messages to the Iranian regime that we're doing everything that we can to get back into this deal. And it's truly ridiculous. We shouldn't be looking to make deals with the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism.
Well, President Appeasement, that's going to get you some critics online, and you're no stranger to hearing those trolls. In fact, a recent article in Responsible States putting into question the work of your organization, what they're doing. I'll read you part of it. They said how a shadowy, hawkish new group tied to Iranian monarchist is gaining influence in Congress here. The article goes on, but Brian, I'll just give you a chance to react to sort of where these claims are coming from and how you respond to them.
Yeah, thanks, Emma. It's a false narrative that groups like NIAC, which is a National Iranian American Council headed by their former co-founder, Trita Parsi, and his cronies. This is the false narrative that they push out there. And when they see Jewish Americans and Iranian Americans working together, it scares them. And what I find very interesting, Emma, is the fact that the Islamic Republic of Iran pours cold water on the Abraham Accords, pours cold water on Israel, making peace with their Arab neighbors. And here in America, you have Jewish Americans and Iranian Americans working together in our own kind of mini Abraham Accords. And of course, that's going to get the attention of people like Trita Parsi. In the article that they commissioned in Responsible Statecraft, first they called into question why a Jewish American was working for an Iranian American organization. And then he doubled down with a tweet last week exposing the fact that I'm a Jew. What was the point in doing that, Trita? What was the point in exposing the fact that I'm a Jew? I'll tell you, I think, where it comes from. I've been hearing whispers from the Iranian American community for months now that people like Trita Parsi are rabid anti-Semites and just very much against anyone that supports Israel. Trita's tweet proves that's the case.
Yeah.
I appreciate, him, putting a spotlight on the work that we're doing at the Iranian Americans for Liberty. And just one last point, I think there's a common misconception potentially that Jewish Americans and Iranian Americans don't have anything in common. or that we don't have a long history of working together. And that couldn't be any farther from the truth.
Yeah.
In my travels, albeit they've been virtual over the last couple months, not once has any Iranian American tried to shame me for being a Jew. Only Trita Parsi did that. So, he put his cards on the table.
Really interesting to see this play out. That's Brian Leib. You can catch more of his articles. He's a Newsmax columnist, newsmax.com. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Emma.